Hey, you are watching the MTG Thoughtcast. This week's episode is the Tarkir Dragonstorm Precon reviews, which is obviously a lot of them. There's 5 total. What you've just clicked on is one of our 5 individual videos. If you want to watch the whole thing unedited, all the banter, all the good stuff, you can click on the link somewhere else here on the screen. Otherwise, please enjoy the video you just clicked on. The next deck we're talking about is the Mardu Precon, which is helmed by our good friend Zurgo Stormrender, who is red, white, and a black. That's Mardu for the uninitiated. He's an orc warrior. He's a 3/3, and he has Mobilize 1, which is whenever this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So this is the Mardu mechanic from Tarkir. And then he has a very cool line of text that's the sort of crux of the deck, which is whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses a life. So he's rewarding you for losing creature tokens. So it's an aristocrat strategy. It's a token aristocrat strategy that gives you the hashtag flexibility of either sacrificing them during your attack step, or if your tokens are just naturally dying from being blocked, you just draw cards from them. Or if they survive to the end step to be sacrificed from the mobilize trigger, you dome the table for a life. So the alt commander for this deck, our spirit dragon, of course, is Nariv, Crackling Vanguard, Nariv. It was 2 red, white, and a black for a legendary spirit dragon. It's a 4/4 with flying and death touch. When it enters, you create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. When it attacks, you exile a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. During any turn you attacked with a commander, you may play those cards. This thing is going to draw 5 or 6 cards a turn. Between its red goblins, there's warriors in the deck, there's treasures in the deck, there's all kinds of things. There's a lot of mostly red warriors, but there's green and white citizens. I'm just scrolling through to see the 4/4 angels. You've got some white dogs. There's thopters.
Snakes.
Exactly. You get the point. There's white spirits with flying. The point is there's a lot of differently named tokens in the deck, but even on its own, if you just have something with mobilize out, that's going to give you 2 different types of tokens because you've got your goblins and you've got your warriors. So he is an insanely efficient value engine in this deck that is ridiculous. So once again, our Khan and our Dragon are working very, very well together. There is some very sweet reprints in this deck. In Grand Crescendo. Did you know this was a $14 card, John? Grand Crescendo is X white and white for an instant that is create X 1/1 green and white citizen tokens, and creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of turn. So it just makes tokens, makes your board indestructible. This card is nuts. There's a really good land reprint in Shattered Sanctum. This is a super good Skull Clamp deck, so I'm glad that they included it. There's really good reprints in the deck. Some very sweet new cards as well as we shift in that direction. I'm a big fan of this card Within Range. I'm curious what you think about it, John. It's 4 mana. So it's 3 and a black for an enchantment that when it enters, you make 2 1/1 red warrior creature tokens. And then whenever you attack, each opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures attacking them. So it's a weird anthem that's stapled onto an attack trigger that just makes you tokens. It's on an enchantment. I'm a fan of rectangle theory, which we talk about a lot, where like this is one rectangle that makes 3 rectangles, and they're all different card types. There's an enchantment in there. So this just feels very strong and very powerful.
I mean, like we've this kind of like being able to have the damage directly go in before any blocks are even declared is a good way for a combat focused style deck to make sure damage is being dealt, even if the board is getting gummed up.
Close out the game. Yeah, and then even if your token dies and you draw a card with Zurgo, you've still dealt a damage through. So it seems very cool. Bone Devourer is the next one I want to talk about, which I think is a very interesting card. Bone Devourer is also 3 and a black for a dragon. It's a 2/2 with flash and flying. This creature enters with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the number of creatures that died this turn. When this creature dies, you draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So This feels very like, what's the new card? Market Backwalker, or like Hanger Backwalker. It feels in that range where like if 2 creatures have died when you play it, which you can sacrifice with the Viscera Seer in the deck, and getting rid of all of your tokens and drawing cards off of them because they died in combat. It's you're starting to see the synergy of the deck. This can come in with 5 or 6 counters on it. It's then like on its own, like a 6 or a 7/7 with flying. So alone is a huge threat. And then if it ever dies, you're just like, refill my hand. Lose some life, of course. But there's enough Aristocrats things. There's like a Bastion of Remembrance in the deck. There's a Blood Artist. Like you're doing some cool stuff in this deck. Pretty sure there's a Blood Artist. If there's not, cut that out.
There is not.
Dang. Add a Blood Artist to this deck. Go ahead and throw that in there and just have a really good time. You can leave it in, actually.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So like, as you're doing stuff like that, you're going to be gaining life. So paying life is it's not an upside in this deck, but it's definitely not too big of a downside because of the life you're gaining from the Aristocrats effects. This deck is awesome. It is so functionally similar to the Hail Caesar deck from the Fallout series. Like Mardu Aristocrat, tokens. In fact, it's so similar that I would recommend throwing Caesar into the deck as well. Because Caesar is 4 mana for a 4/4. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, you either make 2 1/1 red and white soldier tokens, draw a card and lose a life, or he deals damage equal to the number of creature tokens you control to target opponent. So he just supercharges this deck. As with most Mardu combat-focused decks, I would recommend putting an Isheen into the deck as well. Isheen 2 Heavens is 1. And then Mirkwood Bats really belongs in this deck as well. Speaking of Aristocrats.
Yes, it does.
Making and sacrificing tokens, each opponent losing a life, you're just going to win the game so fast off of this. So I'm really, really happy with this direction that they're taking Mardu, because for so long, Mardu just didn't really have an identity, where it was like, oh, it's kind of combat-y, but it's also kind of aristocrat-y and all these things. And they've really honed in on this deck to be like, no, what Mardu is doing is making tokens and throwing them at faces one way or another, and then throwing them away.
You've served your purpose. Goodbye.
For sure. So I'm a really big fan of this deck. I would give it like an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed going through this deck and seeing all the things that are in it.
Yeah. Easy includes it for this deck as well. If you end up purchasing it, is going to be some of the other mobilized pieces that are going to be part of the main set for Dragonstorm.
Oh yeah, of course.
Something like Voice of Victory, I believe it's called. The one that gives you protects your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, and then also has mobilize on it, and then any of the other sort of mobilized synergy. I feel like more so than the other decks that this Mardu one definitely leans heavier into its own main set mechanic. The other decks the other decks include pieces and whatnot that are a little bit in tie with the main set mechanic ones, but this Mardu one in specific is like, oh, we're doing mobilize in the main set, we're doing that here as well.
Yes. Did you see Infantry Shield from the deck? I'll talk about one more new card before we move on. Infantry Shield is 2 and a red. It is an equipment that equips for 2. An equipped creature has Menace and Mobilize X, where X is its power.
Very silly.
So you slap this on that Bone Devourer after it's a 6/6 or a 7/7 or whatever, and then you just attack with it, and it makes 6 or 7 1/1s that are tapped and attacking. Now, mind you...
Slap that on the Adeline that comes in this deck, too?
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll just keep doubling itself. Yep. Mobilize, importantly, in a 4-player game, when you attack and you make those tokens, you're going to choose which player or planeswalker those tokens are attacking. So they don't all have to attack the same person. Myriad is also insane in this deck. There is some Myriad included. There's also, like, what's the big enchantment that gives everything Myriad?
Legion
Loyalty. That's in the deck. There's a few other Myriad things. There's a new card with Myriad as well that I'm not a huge fan of. But anyway, Myriad is very good. It mobilizes like Myriad Light, I would call it. But yeah, cool. That's the Mardu deck. That's Zergo helm smashing his way into token aristocrat strategies. I think I already said I give this deck about an 8 out of 10. It seems very fun. It seems like it's going to win games really easily.
Yep. Also seems like a real easy one to just kind of pick up and play, right? Because you
Absolutely.
don't need.
Yeah, it was actually really hard to do any types of cuts and upgrades for it because it's very tuned.